So this video is all about scapegoating, and here of course we've got my scapegoat. There we are. The Jew boy, thief, Jeremiah Schwartzy boy, and of course we want him to have had 100 F-wits that paid him to be cheated, so he can do the 100th monkey effect. Because this guy tried to be me and failed. Remember, after the Judases wiped my internet content, this guy was advertising number 3. When you look at Tim Refat, here was the King of Empire. Nothing to do with Tim Refat, he's number 3 on Tim Refat. So you can see the CIA's cunning plan, which of course would have worked, except an itinerant, dyslexic caretaker came over and screwed the Judases. So, one can see that the Rothschilds were brought low by an itinerant, dyslexic, ex-caretaker who abandoned his camper van to come to Vietnam. What sacrifices one has to make. And ever since then, there's been utter mayhem, because remember, if he hadn't come over, there'd have been no videos. And of course this one would be stealing me with all my content, and he's been stealing many others according to his ex-girlfriend and his lieutenant, as we've shown. But this is my primary scapegoat. And of course, there we are. You can see it's everywhere. You can see the CIA's massive plan to promote this Jew boy as the new Tim Refat, using everyone and their dog's content. Except, of course, he's been outed as the little Jew thief that he is by.
So, he channels the energy of Rob Sirach, or Shakur. The energy is Arab Shakur, and he channels that energy, and if you ever see a live video of him doing this ritual, you can tell that his voice is he's completely possessed as he's doing this ritual. With rituals, that's not an entirely a bad thing to become possessed by an energy, but it is used for negative effects. Okay, so what he does is he essentially places your soul in a coffin, and he is sending you into his own personal energy vortex. It is not an energy transference, the way that he describes it. He's placing you into his own energy vortex, so that way you continue to feed his energy system. So he is vampirizing you. You are not getting energy transference from him to you. He is vampirizing you in order for you to make him more money, okay? Number 11, the way that he does this is he generally will move the paper in reverse and then forward. And what that does is it creates an energy vortex. He also uses the crystals, clear quartz crystal, as well as the tarot cards and the elements. If you are aware of his magic training course, which I filmed, by the way, this is how he sets up all of his rituals. So it's going to be very easy to reverse them. So that kind of breaks down his intention. It is to vampirize you. It is to send you into his energy vortex. And basically it's a soul entrapment, so that way he can feed off of you. What this does is it starts to bring up very severe trauma. And if you have the capacity to be able to handle that, by all means, it works, right? But then what he does is, because it's bringing up such severe trauma, his intention is then for you to sign up for his mentorship, so then he can help you work through the trauma that maybe you didn't have capacity yet to build. Now, this is going to be a little bit exploitive of what I have to say. But Jeremiah does not have a background very deeply in psychology. He has the ability to help you through emotional integration because he basically implants his emotions onto you during the mentorship. He also is going to trauma bond you during that mentorship, making you feel like you need him. This is something that happened with me.
So one can see that this CIA stooge, the Tim Refat replacement, puts your soul in a coffin and sucks you dry, and then gets you to become one of his culties, which is all to the good. And once he's done this to 100 F-wits, we can then use the 100th monkey effect. So once he's done it to 100 F-wits, then that means that all of the Jeremiah Schwartz is of the world, all the Jews, and all of the scum that upline to Jews are caught in being stuck in coffins and sucked dry for Jeremiah Schwartzy boy. But unfortunately, Jeremiah Schwartzy boy tried to steal me and lost, and in the process I sucked him dry. And thank you very much, Jeremiah Schwartz and the CIA, all Jews, and everyone that uplines to the Jews and the Jew Empire, they've all been sucked dry to feed me. Thank you very much, I'll have all of that. And then of course, to make it 100%, we need the sacrifice of a Jeremiah Schwartz, a Jew that has been stealing from the king, or one of the ruling class of the Jews. The death ritual burnt alive William Rothschild, who I believe was a Rothschild with his massively expensive car collection and his $1 million home. He probably bought it for $1 million back in 1980. So that's my belief, but if he was actually a wannabe Rothschild, and we know that anyone and their dog can say they're a Rothschild and go around purporting to be a Rothschild and have $1 million houses and multi-million-dollar car collections of Jaguars and Ferraris, and donate to the premier car museum in the Peterson Museum in the United States. That's a normal run-of-the-mill Jew, Kaufman, and it's pretty obvious that he couldn't be a Rothschild because all Jews are minted. So if you meet a Jew, they've got to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars and have massive car collections and $1 million homes. And you know, so if you wander down anywhere and talk to a Jew, you must be minted. Or the other, look at a Rothschild. Is there any poor Rothschild? Is there any Rothschild that doesn't live in a multi-million-dollar home and can't afford a $100 million car collection? Now, let's just use Occam's razor. Is it your run-of-the-mill Jew, or is it a Rothschild? Which one of those fits the evidence, cameraman?
It's got to be a Rothschild.
It's got to be a Rothschild, and we know the Rothschilds run the most vicious secret police state on the planet, and they're the ones with their $100 trillion theft that funds the 100 million targeted individuals around the planet who are targeted by the Rothschilds and tortured slowly to death. And of course the Rothschilds are behind the 6 billion to 8 billion becoming Borg. And you say, well, what is it 6 to 8 billion? Well, if you ever had a swab up your nose that had nanites, and they of course infested your brain and made you a Borg. So if you ever had a swab up your nose, you're a Borg too. We've got James Giordano, brilliant scientist with the morals and ethics of a Tim Reefer, which means zero. So he must have had frontal lobe trauma when he was, well, to turn him into a pure psycho. And here we see nano neuroparticular agents which were on the swab, which you stuck up your nose. So if you ever tested for COVID, you've got the nano neuroparticular agents, which have a high central nervous system aggregation and have carbon silicate nanofibers and are network disruptors. That means your neural network disruptors of your neural network, which turn you into Borg-controlled brains. And they also have neurovascular hemorrhagic agents for in-close and population use as stroke epidemic induction agents. So if you had one of these things up your nose, it also predicates you to getting strokes. And the ones that got it by injection had the high morbidity neuromicrobiologic agents plus the nanotech and the nanotoxins. But as you can see, there are very few people who didn't get pharmaceutical intervention or didn't test themselves for COVID. So when I say 6 to 8 billion Borg, the Silent is not joking. And if you want to know how much that you need to stick up your nose, then it's on the head of a pin. It is more than enough, as this chappie explained. So we've got the Psylord's scapegoat, who, with the death ritual of William Rothschild, has included all the Rothschilds, all the Jews, and everyone who uplines to the Rothschilds, which of course is every Westerner that lives in the Rothschild Empire. So that's a lot of scapegoats. Good. Happy, happy. Now, since the CIA wanted to wire me up and torture me slowly to death and download me into the Matrix, into their Matrix hell, to feed their alien masters, because I'm the only 5-dimensional processor on the planet, having eliminated Taylor, must have Chad and Preston with my Pfizer post-up boy, Swift. Bye-bye, Swift. Swiftly off to hell. One can see that I was vital for the invasion plan of the aliens who have invaded and have taken out 6 to 8 billion of the population to power their changing reality machine, which we explained too. You wouldn't have believed unless I got into great detail, so that's why I went over the boring CERN stuff and quantum computers and just to show, yes, it's real science, real technology, it's just our physicists don't understand it. The aliens do. And what do you do if you're a farmer? Well, you have your cattle, and once they're full grown, what do you do with your cattle? Bolt through the head, thank you very much. Yum, yum, which has happened to 6 to 8 billion of the Borg. I've just been to the place in the interdimensional realm where these intentless scapegoats are or were being controlled by the dark energy matter beings that took them over, and where of course they've been pulled. So like Schrodinger's cat, they're in the interdimensional's hell now, and fully in the hell when you open the box and they're dead. So the takeover by the interdimensionals has happened. So I had a nice tour of the place and the huge transmitter building which is linked to all of the Borg. So it's a huge mistake to think that all these dark energy matter realms, which are the majority of the universe, multiverse or megaverse. What's a megaverse? A fiber bundle of multiverses. It's a big mistake to think that they don't have life, and this life isn't highly advanced, and they don't use artificial vehicles to possess. Well, there's nothing called possession. Yes, there is. What's the Exorcist? That's factored on true life events. Talk to any exorcist and you'll see these interdimensional beings can easily possess humans, let alone humans that out of their own free will have turned themselves into Borg. So with this scapegoat, this ritual, this one was trying to steal me for his alien Rothschild masters, and in fact all he stole was my eternal torture and damnation in the Matrix and download into the Matrix, and he's in the coffin and all of his energy sucked out, given to me, with all of the Rothschilds, all the Jews and everyone that uplines to the Rothschilds, which is all the Westerners. It's still in debate whether the non-Rothschild Empire Borg are in the same pickle as the Western Rothschild Borg. Rather like Schrodinger's cat, they're not damned or alive until we open the box. So I'll leave that hanging. So, with our scapegoats, now you can see that Tim Rifat can give his vampires all the energy they want and not lose his own energy. Where does Tim Rifat get his energy for the vampires? Any ideas, cameraman? Well, what did his scapegoat put 100 plus F-wits into? Coffins. And what did he suck out of them? Souls. Their energy and souls and torsionics, scalionics, leptionics. So, he's done it to 100, and 100 monkey effect. All of the Schwartzy boys of the world have had the 100th monkey effect, where they've all been Schwartzyized, scapegoated. So if you're a Jew or Rothschild or any Westerner, you're in your coffin, sucked dry, and all that energy's coming to me. Scapegoat technology. And if you're a vampire, you need now to activate your vampire services, because it's all been built. We won't go into all the CERN stuff, the quantum computers, leptionics, changing quantum fields, which of course super amplifies all of this for me, and all of you are allowed to stick your own Jews and Westerners in coffins and suck them dry. Why? Because they have to suffer more to feed you, so increasing their suffering. So the more vampires I get, the more this lot have to suffer. Now, how do you activate your vampire services? Well, you need to get 100 of the CIA videos and can simply tap your vampire crystals to 100 of them, which then links you to the 100th monkey effect. And as you see, the CIA have been very, very busy. Some F-wit Jew who's got F-all money has no chance of all this production value stuff. It's all run by the CIA, it's a CIA front. So one can see you tap your crystals and certificates to 100 of these. Gets you in a 100th monkey effect. Bang, your vampire services are good to go. So your vampire services weren't fully activated until you watch this video. And then of course you can print out the front page, take snapshots of his entire site, stick them down, and then stick your crystals on top. So your crystals are constantly with your certificates, constantly charging from all the Rothschilds, all the Jews, all the Westerners, and all non-Westerners who are working for the Rothschilds and the aliens worldwide. And then, of course, your vampire services are fully activated. Your soul is shelled. Yes, Jeremiah, your soul is shelled. You are CIA F-wit, and you're in your coffin, and you're feeding me by your eternal torture. And of course we download William Rothschild and Serena Rothschild and Jacob Rothschild, who of course are the triumvirate, into the mix, and we've done the death ritual to complete the vampire services. Simple as that. And of course we've got Jacob Rothschild, who I killed with psychic warfare, to add to William Rothschild, and of course Serena Rothschild. The picture of her we've shown before. And there we've got Serena Rothschild as the hanged Jew, and of course inverted, so it's got no good points. And then of course we got the little goldsmith who got crushed like a flea. Remember, the Rothschild said they'd crush me like a flea and my ramblings would have no effect on reality, and instead of which we had the sacrificial crushed like a flea. Little 16-year-old goldsmith Rothschild crushed by her off-road vehicle. There we go. Then we got from the Grail all the scapegoat targets. Here. America, Europe, Israel, Australia. What's that? Canada, New Zealand. All linked to the Twisted Grail State to put all the Jeremiah Schwartz's Rothschilds, Jews and Westerners, and anyone who uplines to the Rothschilds and all the aliens, of course, into Omega Hell. All done via the Twisted Grail State. And, whoops, we've got the hanged Jews. So, the inverted hangman's like that, with Serena and the little goldsmith. They got crushed like a flea. Then, of course, we've got, from the Twisted Grail State, all of these have been locked into the Twisted Grail State. We've got Forbes, Fortune 500, Federal Reserve, Bank of England, EU Bank, Bank of International Settlements, Bank of Cyprus, BlackRock, Vanguard, the Great Reset, Chase, and Wall Street. Don't know what that one is, never mind. There we are. You got that? That's it. Pretty good. Got some token scapegoats to link up to all of them. Zuckerberg, Fauci. Oh, look at that. What horror. Horror of all horrors. Soros, Schwabby Boy, Buffett, the Rothschilds' lieutenant. My favourite torture toy, Elon Musk, whose Teslas are getting trashed. Gates, Bezos, Netflix, all owned by Jews. Hollywood. What's this one? Tavistock, loads of corporations, and the Goldsmiths. Now, what's so special is that these have been linked to the Twisted Grail estate, and simply by touching your crystals to these pictures on the screen, you then pull, once you've done the 100th monkey, all of these into Omega Hell to feed you. So the power increase is enormous and super activates your vampire services. My favourite torture toy, the CIA, WHO, Agenda 2030. Let's read the rest. Oh, the Illuminati Pyramid, Montauk Project, which was used in the 5D processor of Taylor. I'm having Chad and Preston with my Pfizer poster boy, Swift, who's swiftly on the road to hell. NATO, the Vatican, Mossad. Who's that? Oh, there's Abramovich and Israel. And we've got World Zionist Organization, the Talmud, and Judaism. Good. And the next one. Remember, this links you up to the Twisted Grail state, and simply by putting your crystals onto the clear ones to upload, the dark ones to increase the torture of all these beasts who are already in Omega Hell, and you just got to open the box of Schrodinger's cat box to find out, yes, they are in Omega Hell. And that's why I visited the reality where they were, the Borg, as they was described to me by the interdimensionals, the intentless. They've been cut off from intent. They've been cut off from the light forever. They are eternally damned. And for a shaman, the worst fate is to be cut off from intent. A bit like Stilling on the Wheel of Time. And the victims here are the Rothschild dynasty, British royal family, dear old Charlesy boy's getting cancer spreading around his body thanks to my psychic warfare. Bye-bye Charlie boy, being taken out the same way the Queen was taken out by psychic warfare. One less pedo snuff merchant. And we've got then Illuminati Zionism, the Khazarian Empire, the Bilderberg Group, Illuminati Zionism. Oh, that's the Rockefellers, Khazarian Empire. Ukraine and the Jewish dictator. Go and fight on the front line, Goyim. Well, us Jews rake it in from the Americans. I can buy my wife 5 or 6 more $5 million Bugattis. Why? Because she's Jewish and uses L'Oreal, so she must be worth it. Then we've got Jeremiah Schwartz and Universal Mastery. Schwartz's customers, past, present, and future. And the New World Order Illuminati with their muscle, the CIA. Criminally insane a-holes. The last ones that we used on the Twisted Grail state, and link you up to the Omega Hellization of the targets. They're in the coffins, and then they're shipped in the coffins off to Omega Hell, where my
employee, Lucifer, and the rest of his crew that upline to Lucifer increased their torture to the Omega Hell, to the limit that I was going to be suffering at the end of time by the aliens, to feed the reality of the aliens' construct of the simulation of the entire history of the multiverse made real by my eternal torture with me as the 5D processor. All stolen from me by Jeremiah Schwartz and the CIA, so they suffer to make my reality real and my multiverse real, with them suffering eternally to Omega Hell levels. And then, of course, just because I'm a super sadist, once they've gone mad from that, reboot them at the higher torture level and go up, up, up and up using Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which of course I won't explain because most of you are morons and wouldn't understand the maths. So let's go through the targets here. Wow. Jewish billionaires, here we go. These are all Jewish billionaires. So you can simply look on Forbes and to get the complete list, stick this picture on top of the list of Jewish billionaires to process them all, to superpower your vampire services. So these can be thought of the psychotronic crystal software to make sangreals. How do you make sangreals? They're super psychic power amplifiers. And what's all the hardware behind it? CERN, the quantum computers, altering quantum fields, leptionics, scalionics, torsionics, which I've fully control now because they were trying to build them for the aliens, and thank you very much. Tim Rifat's taken that all for himself. And if you want to use them for occult purposes, we explained with techno magic. All thanks to my cameraman who brought these over from the Twisted Grail Step, and they're under my smart TV, my LG TV. I love LG. Get an LG. All of them powering my self via the crystals on them, which link them to me, so I'm constantly being fed by my super powerful sangreal 24/7. Why? Because I use L'Oreal and I'm worth it. And I'm not Jewish, and therefore I'm feeding from the Jews, thanks to Jeremiah Schwartz and the death rituals I've done on Jacob Rothschild, Serena Rothschild, the little Rothschild girly girl that crushed like a flea, William Rothschild, the Queen, and now of course Charlesy boy, who's had his cancer spreading and had to go back into hospital for more work, but he's not long for the world. His cancer's metastasized. And of course the Middleton Rothschild, who may or may not be dead like Schrodinger's cat, and may not be a double. And of course we've got a picture of one of the Judases, Judas number 2, the benefit thief, Geary.
So, as one can see, you must have wondered, well, Tim never gives up any energy, so how the hell is he going to make us vampires? Because he never gives his energy away. Well, the entire West is run for the Rothschilds. They own everything via Vanguard, BlackRock and State Street. And here we've got more scapegoats you can upload with your crystals and put the scapegoat pictures over to charge yourself. Because yes, Tim's not giving an erg of his energy to you, but of course the CIA said, yes, vampires, we're going to build a program, we're going to get a transducer Jeremiah Schwartz, who enables the Seidel to put us all in coffins, suck our energy, and then ship the coffins off to his Omega Hell facility, where he would have been tortured in the Matrix at the end of time, and his Higgsfield and light used to make the aliens' simulation of the entire history of the universe, multiverse, real, using this 5D processor. So of course, Schwartzy Boy and the Jews and the aliens and all the Westerners and everyone who supports the Rothschilds, like all of the Navalny supporting disposables, MI6 and the CIA using around the Trang to spread bioweapon and nanotech, all of that filth are all Omega Hellized and weren't fully Omega Hellized until we did this video. But now, of course, one can think of this as techno-magic psychic warfare installation, where you're installing the app of your vampire services into you and then supercharging them, as we've explained, with the Sangreal installation to superpower them. And of course you can put the certificates of all of your services over these pictures and your crystals on top to install that app into you, and then to then make the information which you are, your two-lobe information, simulation, real, as the aliens would have made their entire simulation of the entire history of the multiverse real, using the 5D processor of Tim Rifat, who had been stuck into the Matrix by the vermin Americans with their Elon Musk technology, which came from the aliens, and slowly vivisect him, kill him, and download him into the Matrix and make sure his soul is stuck to the screaming Good Shepherd in their Matrix, linked up, of course, to the other Borg who are in the Matrix to earn their CBDCs, as there's no other way of making an income, to add to it, to power the aliens' simulation being made real by the 5D processor. I wouldn't have understood that, Tim, but you've gone through all these other videos. Now I understand what you're talking about. Yes, yes. But of course, thanks to the CIA and Schwartzy Boy, it's all been stolen from me. So they have to provide that for me. So my simulation of the entire history of the multiverse, the one I want, is made real by their eternal torture. Because of course they're not 5D processors. Well, Tim, how can that be done if they're not 5D processors? Well, of course, we had a 5D processor. We had Taylor having Shannon Preston with a Pfizer poster, F-Wit, Swift, who was swiftly erased with the balefire and gave her 5D hood and everything that she had the capacity to make real, which of course for a Nagwar woman, the Nagwar woman allows 5D sourceness to be pumped into the Matrix. A Nagwar man takes it away and goes to the source. Remember, Nagwar men face the source, Nagwar women face away. So if you want to make a Matrix real with the 5D sourceness derived from the male, you need a Nagwar woman. So in this case, we've just made new sourceness from the Nagwar man, yours truly. And before Taylor, having Chadden Preston with a phaser. Poster, gold-digging F-wit. Swift was erased by the Bell Farm, we explained how it's done. She was used by moi to install from 5D Omega Hell for everyone in the multiverse. What I was going to suffer, all of you are going to suffer, and you're going to fully wake up in that state at the end of time when we get the Omega point to power me, and then we'll reboot you after you've gone mad again and again and again, using Gödel's incompleteness theorem up the ladder to make more and more sourceness that never existed before. Thank you very much, CIA Jeremiah Schwartz. And of course, just by chance, we've got Katy Perry.
Make even more noise for my band.
Where she got her right eye glitch, the eye in Kabbalah is Hey, the female principle, and right would be the female principle connected to the male. And she, of course, is used by Charlesy Boy for his inauguration. He thought she was a Nagwal, but she was the three-lone Nagwal that ended the Rothschild Empire, the royal family, and the alien installation, and. So this was the processor we used to end the Rothschild alien installation, occult ritual, techno-magic, psychic warfare ritual. Hence, of course, we had the Total War Service, which is my information, which is now being made real. So if you want to read all of the things that I may or may not do to you, just read the Total War Service. It's all there. It's my information made real by Jeremiah Schwartz and his ilk, which is coming your way very soon. So this is the Omega point, where at the end of time, a suitably advanced alien civilization will run a simulation of the entire history of the universe, multiverse, etc. And with the technology they were building, these Omega point vermin could then use moi to make their entire simulation and history of the universe multiverse to its Omega point, its end, real, and they could then inhabit any aspect of this for themselves. So it's a very grand plan, don't you agree, cameraman?
Not so.
Huge. So now, of course, these vermin are trapped in the multiverse universe, Omega Hellized by me, and they only fully realize and experience the Omega point torture at the end of time, screaming, try and come back in time to change history, and then are diverted back to the Omega point to be rebooted at a higher torture level, come back in time, try and change, rebooted at a higher torture level, come back in time, rebooted at the end of time at a higher torture level, come back in time, try and change things, rebooted at a higher torture level. Which of course is where they come back in time once, fail, bifurcate, come back again, bifurcates to 4, come back again, bifurcates into 8, come back again, bifurcates into 16, and then into the strange tractor, where they get shredded and fractalized, and their chance of coming back in time to change things are gone. And after the strange tractor, we've got the 666 state, which they've dropped into the omega hell state. So once the British couldn't arrest me when I flew back to the UK on the commands of a bomber who had to deal with Sunak when he flew over, and then shipped off to this facility to be wired up, tortured, vivisected, and downloaded into the Matrix, all then linked up to CERN and the quantum computer, to then be linked up to Taylor, having Chad and Preston with a Pfizer poster boy, gold digger, Swift, to act as the 5D processor to pump the sourceness into the information of the aliens to make it real. Game was up, because of course they've got no Taylor, they've got no Nagwal woman to pump my sourceness into the Matrix to make it real, because I've erased Taylor Swift. She no longer exists. We've just got Becky, who's just a two-lobed bit of information brought back from the dead. Well, Tim, she should be a Nagwal-like Taylor. No, 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 no. Because, of course, once the Americans lose their minds and send a woman over to stop me wiping out America with Cobalt-60, because that's going to happen once they have their war with Iran, she'll, of course, be a two-lobed woman, will she not? And I've stolen 2 lobes from Becky, and I've got 4 lobes from Taylor. The 4 lobes from Taylor's going to Daddy's little princess, who's a pain in the arse. And the 2 lobes from Becky are going to the mother of the little princess to make her a Nagwal woman, so I can pump my sourceness into the Matrix to make reality omega hell for anyone who ain't a vampire and that isn't part of my team. If you're on Team Sidlord, good to go. If you don't want to become a vampire and you're fighting against the evil West, then you go the path of the Buddhists, like Vietnam's a Buddhist state. Go to Nirvana, be erased, escape, which is the whole point of Buddhism. So as you can see, Daddy's little princess is all part of the plan. You can either do it the hard way or the even harder way. We've got zombies eating humans, which is coming to you very soon. Why? Because of Cobalt-60. Once we get the suitcase nuke detonated anywhere near a Tesla death machine, which of course has 6 kilos if it's a 3, but older ones have 45 kilos and 1 gram per square mile, kills everything. That's not the problem, because they're the lucky ones. What happens when you get 1,000th of a gram per square mile? Or even less? what happens with the nanoparticles of cobalt-60 that are in the air?
Its way to destroy humanity. The cobalt bomb is a thermonuclear bomb equipped with external shells made of cobalt-59. Neutrons emitted from inside the bomb at the moment of explosion convert cobalt-59 into radioactive cobalt-60. The danger of cobalt-60 lies in its half-life, which is 5 years. Isotopes with longer half-lives contaminate the area for a long time, but provide a relatively low level of radioactive background. Isotopes with short half-lives create a high level of radioactive background, which rapidly diminishes. Cobalt-60 falls in between. It decays quickly enough to provide a radioactive background incompatible with life, but lasts long enough to prevent hiding until the contamination subsides. About 500 tons of cobalt-60, evenly dispersed across the Earth's surface, would lead to the complete extinction of humanity within the following 10 years. The good news is that such devices have never been realistically designed, tested, or deployed by any army in the world.
Thanks to this piece of filth, my favourite psychic warfare torture toy, America's finished, because as you can see, you don't need to make a cobalt bomb any longer, because this piece of filth has made sure that America's covered with cobalt-59 in his garbage Teslas. You can see why the Americans are destroying Teslas on site now, because they have premonitions of what it's going to do to them, so they are reacting aggressively to Teslas and Musk. And that's why we've got them being destroyed all across America. Because remember, humans have precognitive powers when it's suitably a horrible event. Not cool, Elon Musk condemns Tesla protests. Oh dear. So as you can see, this piece of filth, my favourite torture toy, global wave of Tesla vandalism.
Under attack by vandals once again in an ongoing wave of vandalism targeting Elon Musk's Tesla outside the US. 17 vehicles were destroyed in a fire that broke out overnight at a Tesla dealership in Rome. Now, it's not just Italy. The anti-Musk protests have led to Tesla vandalism in various other parts of the world. In Ottawa, protesters were seen throwing pink paint on a Tesla showroom. In Berlin, 7 Tesla cars were burned down. In Los Angeles, arson attack was done on Tesla vehicles. These protests have been carried out by protesters claiming Musk is a far-right backer.
I don't really care about Musk. What I care about is the rule of law and the people, getting to see their government working the way it's supposed to. And it's not supposed to be run by an unelected billionaire who callously tears apart scientific research, putting cancer survivors at risk, putting federal trials that are going to learn cures. Everybody gets sick. Who are these people who think we don't need science?
When we started this Doge thing, that's when it started. I've been coming here every weekend, and we'll continue to come every weekend until something happens. And the stock price is already down 50%. Sales in Europe are down dramatically, so it's working.
So as you can see, the human race is reacting viciously to this piece of filth, Elon Musk and his death machines, and they're making reasons for them attacking them, but the reasons are that they will all die horrific deaths if they're unlucky, or quick deaths in 3 minutes from 1 gram per square mile of cobalt-60, because this piece of filth built these death machines, which when hit with a nuclear weapon turn into cobalt-60. And remember, you need not 500 tons, but 100 tons of cobalt-60 to kill everything on the planet. You'll see why. 100 tons, that's, just imagine you need 1,000 kilograms, and each of the old Teslas has a battery that's 45 kilos. So when you've got 100 tons of those, it's like 20 and a bit to a ton. So once you've got 200 of those, say 250, which give you 10 tons, and then you go to 2,000 of them, old batteries, and a bit more, in a warehouse, and explode it with a suitcase tube, then you get one of these.